I put together a parlay with total odds of 10.4. Let's break it down. First pick, Sweden versus Greece, and here I found a very interesting bet, because bookmakers are fairly confident in making Sweden the favorite. But if you take a closer look at the recent results and current form of both national teams, things are far less straightforward than they seem. At the same time, I'm not interested in betting the outright result here. But Sweden's goals look very appealing. Let's start with Sweden. Despite all the struggles during the qualification campaign, the team still managed to reach the World Cup through the playoffs and gained a huge emotional boost from doing so. The 3-2 victory over Poland showed the character of the squad, because it was an absolutely even match that was decided in the closing stages. In general, Sweden tends to play aggressively at home and spends plenty of time attacking. Yes, they recently lost 1-3 to Norway, but there is an important detail to consider. Not all of key players featured in that match. The first half was sloppy and they conceded 3 goals, but after the break the team looked much better and at least managed to reduce the deficit. Most importantly, the hosts still have plenty of quality in attack. Of course, the absence of Gyökeres is significant. He was the player who practically dragged Sweden to the World Cup with 4 goals in the playoffs, but the team is far from being left without leaders. Alexander Isak is available, Anthony Elanga is available, and there is still a quality midfield group behind them. Isak may not have had his brightest season, but he scored against Norway and remains the type of striker capable of causing problems for almost any defense. Guys, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I post match analysis every day and always try to help my subscribers stay profitable. I am also always open to constructive criticism and your own betting opinions in the comments. I read every single one. Guys, here's my Telegram and my stats. I work as transparently and honestly as possible. I even pay taxes as an individual entrepreneur. I am one of the few in this space who actually works openly and fairly. The link is in the description below. Now let's look at Greece. Once again, the qualification cycle ended in disappointment for them. Another World Cup will take place without Greek participation, and the key moments were painful defeats against Denmark. However, the attacking quality of the visitors should not be underestimated. Both Tsolis and Pavlidis have joined the national team after excellent club seasons. One peeled up goals and assists for Club Brugge, while the other became one of the top scorers in Portugal. This is genuinely dangerous partnership capable of punishing any defensive mistakes. And Sweden makes defensive mistakes regularly. If you look at the statistics, the hosts have now gone 10 consecutive matches without keeping a clean sheet. They even conceded against Kosovo, a team that is clearly below the current level of Greece in terms of attacking talent. Because of that, the idea of Greece finding a goal here looks very realistic. At the same time, Greece is far from perfect defensively. The team is returning after a long break without competitive matches, and will likely use this game to test different combinations ahead on future tournaments. In these conditions, defenses rarely perform flawlessly. Sweden, meanwhile, continues to score consistently at home. Their scoring streak has reached 5 consecutive matches, and home advantage should play an important role here as well. In the end, the picture looks fairly clear. Sweden should take the initiative at home and create chances. Greece possesses enough quality in attack to respond with opportunities of their own. But when it comes to the parlay selection, I like the Swedish team total the most. Even without Gyökeres, the attacking talent remains strong, and Sweden consistently finds the net at the home. Therefore, for the parlay, I am taking Sweden team total over 1 goal. And if you want a higher risk option, for the crazy parlay, you can consider a straight Sweden win at around even money odds. Guys, for the crazy parlay, I don't want to use my main bankroll, because accumulators are always risky. That's why I usually use welcome bonuses from my partners. I signed up, made a minimum deposit, and received 5 bonus activations. Basically, I place 1 high odds parlay with each bonus. If the bet wins, the bonus gets multiplied by those juicy odds and becomes part of my main bankroll, which I can then withdraw. And if it loses, I'm not risking money from my main bankroll, which is always nice. The partner is official and reliable. I left the bonus link and all the conditions in the pinned message on my Telegram channel. The promotion is still active, so it's worth taking advantage of it. Let's move on. Second pick, Spain versus Iraq, and here I found a very interesting angle, because many people automatically expect a blowout from Spain, but personally, I think this match could follow a very different script. Yes, the difference in quality is enormous. nobody is arguing with them. Spain remains one of the strongest national teams in the world and one of the favorites for the upcoming World Cup. But it's important to understand the context of this game. This is Spain's final home friendly before the tournament, and Luis de la Fuente's main objective is not to put on a show and score 5 or 6 goals. The priority is to test combinations, build chemistry, and get the squad ready for the World Cup without injuries or unnecessary fatigue. On top of that, the Spanish lineup is performed perfectly at the moment. It's not even certain that Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams will feature. Those are the two players responsible for pace, creativity, and constant pressure down the wings. Without them, Spain's attack becomes less explosive and more positional. Of course, players like Pedri, Rodri, Dani Olmo, Oyarzabal, and Ferran Torres remain available, but the attacking structure changes significantly. We have already seen this in previous friendlies. Against Egypt, Spain generated 2.51 xG, created 4 clear-cut chances, and still finished with a 0-0 draw. A similar story happened against Colombia, where they fired 13 shots but failed to score. Finishing issues occasionally appear on friendlies, especially when there is no major tournament pressure involved. Now let's talk about Iraq. Obviously, there is no comparison in terms of individual quality. Spain is stronger in virtually every position. But the visitors are not coming here to play open football or compete in possession. Their task is very simple. Sit deep, defend compactly, close the spaces, and keep the score level for as long as possible. Graham Arnold has already shown this approach in important qualification matches. His team is comfortable playing as the underdog, defending with numbers behind the ball, and remaining patient. The statistics support that idea as well. Over their last 5 qualification matches, Iraq conceded only 0.6 goals per game on average. Yes, the level of opposition was lower, but the defensive organization looked solid. Veteran goalkeeper Jalal provides experience, the defensive line is used to staying compact, and up front, Al-Hamadi can still create problems on the counter-attack. Spain will likely enjoy around 7% possession, and Iraq will be perfectly happy with that scenario. They are not going to open up and attack with numbers. And the longer the score stays low, the less insecure Spain will have to push the tempo. After all, the World Cup is just around the corner, and nobody wants to risk injuries for the sake of a big scoreline in a front line. Even if Spain scores early, I can easily see them switching into possession control mode and simply managing the game. That is why I like the under far more than a handicap or a blowout result. Iraq will do everything possible to slow the game down, while Spain has no reason to chase a huge victory. Therefore, for the parlay, I'm comfortably taking Spain team total under 4 goals. And if you want a higher priced option, for the crazy parlay, I like under 3.5 goals in the match at roughly 2.0 odds. One more event I originally analyzed as a single bet, but it can easily be added to the parlay as well. France versus Ivory Coast, and here I found a very interesting angle because most people immediately see the matchup versus France and automatically expect a comfortable win by multiple goals. But if you take a closer look at the situation, things are not that simple. Yes, on paper France had the stronger squad at almost every position. But for them, this match is primarily part of their preparation for the World Cup, and this opponent was chosen for a reason. Didier Deschamps specifically wanted a team that resembles some of France's future tournament opponents stylistically, and Ivory Coast fits that profile perfectly. Let's start with France. During qualification, the team looked very strong, collected 16 points out of the possible 18, and comfortably securing a place at the World Cup. In the spring, they picked up impressive wins over Brazil 2-1 and Colombia 3-1. However, if you dig deeper into those results, the picture becomes less straightforward. Across those 2 matches, France scored 5 goals from a combined 2.59 xG. In other words, their finishing was absolutely exceptional. At the same time, they allowed 3.19 xGA, which suggests opponents were creating plenty of dangerous opportunities. Sometimes the goalkeeper bailed them out, and sometimes the opposition simply failed to convert. All of this happened while William Saliba, one of the most important pieces of the defensive line, remains a doubt. There is also a strong possibility that some players involved in the Champions League final will be rested. Of course, France has incredible squad depth, and even the second-choice attacking unit looks frightening. Kylian Mbappe, Michael Olise, Ryan Cherky provide enormous quality, but it would still be wrong to ignore potential rotation and the fact that the team is currently in preparation mode rather than chasing results at any cost. Now let's look at Ivory Coast. And this is where I think bookmakers maybe underestimated the visitors. This team did not just qualify for World Cup. They did it without conceding a single goal during qualification. On top of that, they looked extremely organized defensively throughout the Africa Cup of Nations. Their average XGA was only 0.58. Yes, they conceded more goals than that in reality, but those situations were mostly down to goalkeeping mistakes and isolated incidents rather than structural problems. Back in March, Ivory Coast beat South Korea 4-0 and Scotland 1-0 without conceding. Even when opponents generated chances, the defensive structure remained solid. Now they have also strengthened the attack. Players like Iwami and Ivan Wilson bring additional pace and power, while Diallo offers a dangerous outlet on the counterattack. Those are exactly the types of players who can exploit defensive mistakes, and France certainly does not look flawless at the back. In fact, France has regularly allowed goals even against less talented opponents. Matches against Iceland and Azerbaijan are good examples of games where defensive issues were still visible. Personally, I think we are going to see a fairly competitive match. France will dominate possession and spend more time attacking, but I don't expect an easy walkover. Ivory Coast possesses one of the strongest defensive units among African national teams and has the ability to keep the game close for long stretches. At the same time, they have enough quality in attack to punish mistakes when opportunities arise. That is why I'm not expecting a blowout. For the parlay, I really like Ivory Coast +2 on the handicap. For the crazy parlay, I would look at either team to win plus both teams to score at around 2.6 odds. If you do not believe in the attacking threats of the visitors, then a simpler alternative would be France to win plus under 3.5 goals at around 2.2 odds.